evening, everyone. Thank you very much for coming here today, and thanks for Waterfront for giving us this amazing opportunity to present our vision. Our vision is more of a process to start together. I'm Clement Blanchet, part of the team with RVTR, Batlle and Roig, Arup, Scott Torrance, Adamson, Associates, and we are very pleased to present today somehow different variants of the design. One of it is somehow to have three primary master plan frameworks. How to bring the city to the water and the island to the city, create unity through diversity, and simplify the complexity. I was very fascinated by the horizontal urbanism and how it used to be very dynamic. Today, somehow, it's dominated by verticality, some kind of vertical urbanism, and our proposal is to recombine it in an horizontal modernity, in an horizontal monument, generating a scheme that have a kind of sense of bringing the city to the waterfront. I think our scheme is trying to interact as an urban device to a network of the city. So we propose not only to do a city terminal, a waterfront, we want to kind of bring a city terminal into the scheme. It's not only a ferry terminal, it's a place where people can activate, have different use, and it brings us to the sense that we could bring the city back to the water by creating a social carpet that will bring the people towards the lake and invent some kind of belvedere to overview and contemplate the city, as well as contemplating the landscape. I was also very interested in looking at the history for us to have a consciousness of the growing, like this continuous growing, the infrastructure creating barriers. And our scheme is trying to generate two orders. One is to bring the city to the water, and one is to connect to the waterfront. In a way, we want to reinitiate a dialogue with the urban fabric and bring the city to the water as it used to be, and carry on with this idea of having people going to the water. This ends up being this kind of horizontal monument where it's driven by this elevated belvedere and a lighthouse that will combine a certain sense of light and presence. Of course, we will have to deal with the other terminal, which is part of the project. So we bring the city to the island, and we are able to contemplate the city as well as contemplating the harbor. As a French person, I have been reading about Jacques Layton, and I got very inspired by his writings, and I wanted to kind of combine this idea of democracy, this idea of inclusivity, this idea of optimism in the design. So we feel that we could kind of create a platform for everybody to express, for everybody to enjoy, for everybody to live in, as well as kind of contributing to the relationship to the city. So somehow we generated a center point which will kind of carry on everybody with different activities, where you could kind of have a Canada Day concert, or you could go and view the city as well as different street performances, or even a market. So the meeting point at Jack's Got Your Back, we kind of bring the idea of having a center point where we bring the actual statue in the middle of our scheme. This is the current situation, and this is how we will want somehow to offer an opening, an actual social carpet, a slope for everyone, a place where you can contribute to the idea that you go to somewhere. Phase one will help the idea that we could, with the kind of Canadian schools or academics, bring the idea of a competition where we could test with a framework we will invent the different scheme for this slope and see how they can combine different ideas and how we could kind of maybe have scaffolding or temporary structure as a placeholder for the future. So those are all the ingredients of our scheme. it's a diversity of landscape, it's a diversity of views, as well as a unified belvedere, all connected to the slope, to the city. Obviously, it's not only about being nostalgic, but we love to look at the past in a positive way. And I think it's very interesting for us, almost like a cadavre ski, to collect a series of views, a series of landscape all together, and this is somehow our story. It's our project. We've been sampling the beauty, the qualities of the islands, and brought them together in the actual waterfront Toronto. It allows us to maybe kind of propose a place where everybody can gather, and as well as becoming a gateway. Obviously, we want to engage the city back, and it has been really forecasted as a kind of master plan, and thanks to this, we've been able to implement our scheme in a narrative, and we have been looking at how we could kind of combine this with a promenade in an amplified version, because today it's very fragmented. And one of our schemes was to integrate this paradox of security and continuity of the central waterfront master plan. So one way to do it is to actually elevate the continuity with the trees as a kind of contemplating belvedere, which we will connect all of the master plan. And then bring the island qualities as well as connecting to the city. So it brings us to the idea of a visual landmark, physical belvedere, and conceptual link. We want to contemplate the city, we want to contemplate the islands. We want to contemplate the departure. We want also to frame the landscape. So the belvedere is a kind of elongated mirror that will be allowing you to remember your experience and kind of generating a certain sense of linearity any time of the seasons. The balustrade could integrate this idea of mirror, and it could bring energies to light up the belvedere during night. This is a view from the belvedere during winter of avoiding ice skating. And those are the different scenarios. We looked at the current pedestrian and vehicle flows, and we saw a lot of crash points, a lot of problems. And we propose an infrastructure that make it fluent and connected to the city, kind of facilitating continuity, permeability, wayfinding, visibility, and access. All of this being interconnected in a mobility system points that will provide an integrated thinking, an integrating system for everybody to come in. And we even consider we could have an outfitter activity place to somehow have a year-round experience of the islands. So the lighthouse ferry terminal. The ferry terminal is a lighthouse. Why we do that is because we think that the architecture of a lighthouse is a place where there's comfort every year, every day of the year. And we propose to carry on this idea of the symbol being serious, capable to bring comfort to the community, comfort for everyone. Obviously, this image is a bit looking at the past, but I think it's very interesting for me to have a waiting experience, a qualitative waiting experience, and we want to carry it into a contemporary way, where the terminal waiting secure access is on the ground floor, and you have somehow the belvedere with a double alley of maple trees that is coming from the master plan, and having this conservatory area zone. This is a plan of how it functions. We have a meeting point in the middle, as I said before. We propose a cafe overviewing the lake. We have a place for storage bikes, for storage for community members. We have the actual grove waiting. During summer it provides shades, and it's kind of bringing an order to connect to the access. And we have the free waiting courtyard with a conservatory above of the lighthouse. And it's a simple, flat, simple and efficient plan. This is a kind of updated section of this lighthouse where it brings comfort during summer and winter with opening roofs. As an experience of the lighthouse, this is how you will feel the relationship to this belvedere, this horizontal situation to the departure and the boat coming in. So the landscape is a story that I would like to go through, where we have been sampling and collecting the different qualities of the islands and bringing it into a diverse series of views. We will first start by the wetland Sculpture Park, inspired by this park, which is actually from the island, and we reinstore it, we interpreted it. We also propose a swimming pool that is somehow recall the use as it has happened in the past, which during summer provide a bio and active filtration swimming pool, so you feel like you swim in the lake. And during winter, you can reinvent different use, like the ice skating, for instance. Then we propose the dunes as a kind of paradigm to the sun, but also during winter, different use can happen. We propose the orchard as a place where you can produce for the community a certain amount of activities, or you can produce things. Landscape is not only about comfort and beauty, it could be also about having a sense of bringing people together and carry on this idea of production. Then we have, of course, the kids. We have not to forget them. We offer a kind of playground where everything can happen, imagination, experimentation, or exploration. Then we have the forest being inspired by the current situation. We've been looking at the existing trees. We have been the idea of improving this greenery, improving this quality as a kind of part of the band strategy. We have the grove. The grove is somehow an ordered landscape where people can wait, and it's being structured to line ups. And we propose on the edge of the Young Street Sleep Dock a kind of plaza where people will be able to have big gathering place and public markets, for instance. And to make it a bit ceremonial, we try to think that we could have a piece of the belvedere moving to have this idea of a kind of simple action to bring the boat in if needed. We, of course, want to integrate all of these possibilities into a simple action, and we look at the different users and how will they interact to our scheme. And this is a current complexity as a diagnostic of users and use. A lot of question mark where we are, how do we do, and how it's connecting everything. So I propose to look at different users and go through the experience. So she's approaching the lighthouse terminal. The line reflects her arrival. The mirror reflects her confidence. She's beautiful today. She surely is. Riding her bike, she meets Jack Layton on his bike too, happy as she is. She waves at him while following a road through the city terminal. The view from the city slope allows the island resident to appreciate the city. She quickly turns on the belvedere to go to the sculpture garden. She finally found a resting place for reading and the endless pleasure of being outside, under the sun, close to activities. Now we're gonna see the waterfront visitors. This charming couple is in town for the first time. Taking pictures is part of their experience. We prefer to be tolerant of those actions. Who will not enjoy the presence of the battleship Algonquin? Summer days are best to spend the entire day outside. Our friends are right to take a break in the cool weather. Changing cabins first, swimming suits on, enjoying yourself without restraint. Look at those lovebirds. That lady is having such a great time that she is singing out loud. I will stop my comments so you can appreciate the beauty of the moment. They will come back in winter to take more pictures and do some ice skating, that is for sure. Now we talk about the island's cool kid. The tourist map these two friends found at the bus stop might be helping them explore the Jack Layton City Terminal Park. By noon, they discovered a place to rest and have a healthy lunch. Even after a half-day journey, they look forward to what is to come. They decided to split there for the research of a secret spot, or maybe Elizabeth felt annoyed about the lizard brochette Jim ate for lunch. Anyways, younger kids are still enjoying the playscape for the rest of the afternoon. His dad came and asked, "How was your day at school, son? Did you have a good time with your friends?" The boy answered, "It was a usual day, Daddy, usual. Please, children, do not lie to your parents." Now it's about the French tourist. Those French tourists thought Canada was about maple syrup and slushy roads. They forgot about the ferry boat. Those French tourists are happy about their hot spiced apple drink from the Harbor Cafe. Those French tourists thought running shoes were appropriate for Canadian winters. Get your moon boots and forks. Those French tourists just understood how Canadians spend their spring break under tropical heat. The waterfront resident. Times have changed around the waterfront. I remember the deserted Harbor Square, the old terminal. Now it is populated. Molly and I took part of this entire new universe. She likes it pretty much. The activities, the kids yelling, myself. I might be an old Grinch. After a season of movement, I think I am used to it. Those people coming every day to have fun gave me inspiration. I might start to write again, maybe about these people. We went to the greenhouse today. Molly likes the tropics, its greenness. If I could say, its generosity. Myself, I might stay an old Grinch. To summarize the scheme, it's about the horizontal unity, the city slope, bringing the city to water, the lighthouse ferry terminal, and the diverse landscape, all at the water edge, looking at the landscape. Thank you.